and welcome to Ask Indy.
Hello.
My name is Ian.
I'm Paul.
And today we hope to answer one of the concerns that's been raised by some of the floating voters ahead of the Scottish independence referendum in September. Yeah, my partner was out last night doing a bit of canvassing for the Yes campaign in Largs.
Which is quite a conservative area.
It's a very conservative area. They tend to vote Tory in Largs, predominantly anyway.
So you would expect the result of a canvass to be quite predominantly no.
You would expect that,
Strong support for the no canvass.
So they made sure that they went to, various areas of Largs to cover as wide a demographic as possible. And at the end of the night, they did find that more folk said they were going to vote yes than no. Although, interestingly, a lot of people said that they didn't, either they switched the debate off after 5 minutes or they hadn't really changed their mind from watching the debate. Now that's not surprising, because you and I have said...
The criticism that we had is there wasn't a lot of substance.
It was almost
two guys shouting at each other.
Yeah, it was just shouty and pointy. So, that's not really a big surprise.
Yeah.
So, one of the main points that kept coming up in the canvassing, one of the main questions and concerns that kept coming up was people kept saying, where's the money going to come from? We've got nothing. I mean, how are we going to pay for independence? Where's this going to come from?
Yeah, I've heard this before as well.
Yeah, well, as soon as you say that, you think independence is great, one of the first things that a kind of sceptic will say to you is, how are you going to pay for it? Where's it going to come from?
Yeah, Scotland's just this wee poor country with a small population.
And I've got an answer to that question. I'll answer it right now, because my partner said, maybe you should talk about this on your YouTube thing. And the answer is simple. Where's the money going to come from? The money's going to come from where it's always come from. Us, people that live in Scotland.
Yeah, through tax.
People that pay taxes in Scotland will pay for all the services. At the moment, people in Scotland pay their taxes, and that pays for public spending, the services that we have at the police and the army. All these things are paid for by Scottish taxpayers, and that will continue to happen. So this idea that we won't be able to pay for anything is a nonsense, because we pay for things now as it is. I don't understand why some people think that we'll suddenly not be able to pay for things in an independent Scotland. It'll be the exact same.
Well, I mean, Scotland is expected to raise a certain level of contribution for the United Kingdom, and it is like the amount is decided per capita.
I mean, at the moment, what happens is that Scottish people pay their tax, and that tax goes to London into the UK economy. They then take a little cut of that, and
for their champagne bills
and their caviar and what have you, and their expenses, and their Ian Duncan Smith having his £38 breakfast. Don't know if you saw that in his expenses.
No.
£38 for a breakfast.
House of Lords.
Ridiculous.
That's a joke to democracy.
So that's how it works at the moment. That we pay our taxes, it goes to London, they take some of that, and some of that gets spent in England and Wales, and then we get some of it sent back up here, and we're told how we're going to spend it. Basically, people in Scotland don't decide, because it's the government in Westminster that decides how the money is spent.
Yeah.
The government that, certainly in this case, we didn't vote for. It's the Conservatives just now.
Yeah.
We didn't. There's one Conservative MP in Scotland, and
from Dumbarton, I think we covered this before.
And it's the Conservative government in England that decides how our tax is spent,
and also the budget that the Scottish government receives. I read a figure the other day, and it was I think it was around $2 billion per year. Scotland raises more than it receives back in tax.
It's a lot of money.
It is, and see, when you raise the tax question to people in a political debate, the immediate reaction is that's council tax, that's income tax, and national insurance. They tend to fling in that bracket as well. What people tend to forget is the amount of tax that we pay on goods and on services, which is a fair amount.
This concern that we're suddenly going to have no money it's one that's been propagated again by the Better Together side, that the destitute times are ahead, when in fact in an independent Scotland we'll have even more to spend, because London will not be able to take a cut of the money that we send down there. And also, at the moment, we have Trident missiles in Scotland. Now, that's one of the first things that the Scottish government has said we'll get rid of.
Yeah,
Trident,
and that's been consistent across all the parties. They're
Absolutely.
all saying
Trident goes.
Yeah.
Now, that is billions a year that we have to spend to keep that here. And they're talking about renewing it, and that's going to cost even more.
It was 100 billion over
it's something like that. I can't remember the exact
20 or
figure,
30
but you're
years.
talking billions and billions and billions of pounds. Now that's money that can be used to reinvest in schools and the police.
Hospitals, nurses,
Exactly.
doctors,
Services.
education.
Things that people in Scotland actually want their money spent on. I don't want my money spent on missiles because I don't believe in them. I mean, we've talked about the Trident thing already. We're not going to go on about that again. But a lot of money will go towards that. In independent Scotland, we lose the Trident missiles, and the money that gets spent on that can be spent on other things, which is a good thing. Secondly, if they do, or when they do get rid of the Trident missiles, the Trident submarines, they'll be able to drill for oil in the Clyde. Now, there's been a lot of reports in the newspapers over the last few weeks where a number of people have said, a number of experts have said, there is
It's
huge
a reserve that runs from the
top of
west
Scotland,
Shetlands.
Shetlands, right down to Ireland, all the way down the west coast. There's this huge, massive, untapped oil bed that's just waiting.
Well, there's a French company in the 80s had first wanted to survey the area, and it was banned by the Thatcherite era.
Well, the government in the 1980s said you can't because the
It's
submarines,
nuclear subpath.
the nuclear submarines need to go up and down there every so often. So no, you're not exploring for oil. So there is oil out there, and I mean, we're not basing. I mean, this is the other thing. We keep getting told, oh, the Yes campaign is basing all their hope on oil money.
No, well, Scotland's going to be a rich country,
We're not.
even if you exclude
If you
the oil.
exclude the oil, the oil is like the cherry on the top. That's all it is. It's just it's an added bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the good things Alex Salmond said on the debate the other night, that Scotland's the only country where it seemed to be a bad thing that we have oil off our shores. You know,
There's
other countries.
2 countries in the world that see oil as a bad thing. One of them's Scotland, the other one's Iran.
Exactly right, and I don't think having oil is a bad thing because obviously, I mean, you look at Norway's economy. Norway's economy is good because they've nationalised.
Yeah, they use their oil fund to pay for all their public
exactly.
services, their
So
childcare.
if there is this huge bed of oil out in the west coast of Scotland, off the west coast of Scotland, sorry, then that's money that could be put into public services as well. So yeah, so this idea that we're going to be skint, we're going to have no money, where's it going to come from? It's a scare tactic. And I would just be saying to people, don't worry, okay? Don't worry.
Consistently throughout the parties as well, they've explained that in an independent Scotland, Scotland will be able to put a much stronger drive on the tourism industry for what the proposals are currently for reducing the airline tax. I can't remember if that's the exact name for it. And the amount of national heritage money that could be distributed throughout Scotland.
So basically we're saying, don't worry.
We're not poor.
We're not poor. We're not going to be poor. People will still have money. People will still pay tax. And the good thing is that we will have a Scottish government that we've voted for who are acting in the best interests of Scotland, not the south of England, as happens at the moment. And they will spend the tax money they get on services in Scotland the way the people have voted for. You know, people will have voted in the government and they will spend the money the way they've said they're going to, hopefully. So yeah, so we're not going to be skint, right? We're going to have money. Don't worry. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So yeah, so we'll see you next time on Ask Indy.
Bye!
See you later. Bye. That was really smarmy. You could vote yes, you could vote no, you could pretend that you still don't know. I will suggest, I might even confess, what will be best is if you vote yes.